Right, team. How do we decide who wins out of a gorilla and a lion? You.
I say we stick them in the cage and watch them fight.
No.
But it's nature, fighting the wild.
It's not nature. It's in a cage. You know what? How old are you? Next. You. With a nice blazer. This isn't blazer. Thank you. Anyway, I was thinking we could compile all the available information from journals, news reports of similar things happening between similar species, and come to a conclusion that way. Nice, good idea. Yes, also, why are you wearing a hat indoors?
Who would win, a gorilla or a lion? Before I get into the video, please remember, neither of these animals care who you're rooting for. They're not boxers in a ring fighting for the admiration of their fans. They're animals, organisms just doing what they have to in order to survive. Whatever the outcome, please remember I don't do this to back any agenda or support my golden boy. I'm making a decision formed using my knowledge as a zoologist and from the scientific material at my disposal. So, where do we begin? Well, let's start with who and where. Which species would most likely come into contact with each other? Well, historically, lions covered most of Africa, including the countries where all the different gorilla subspecies are found. Today, this is unfortunately far from the case. Although I haven't been able to find any reported cases of these two animals sharing habitats in the modern day, we'll be using species that have the closest distribution and thus the highest possibility of encountering each other in nature. In this case, the Congo would be our best playing field, though it should be noted that as of 2014, lions may have become locally extinct. That being said, our two fighters will be the Western Lowland Gorilla and the Northern African Lion. Let's get to know each fighter, respectively. To make things more basic, we'll just be evaluating the males, as they are the strongest and thus the individuals that tend to do the defending for their respective groups. First up is the Western Lowland Gorilla, also known as gorilla gorilla gorilla. I'm not making that up, that is actually its scientific name. They get from 136 kilograms to 195, but they average 140 kilos. They do tend to get much larger in captivity, up to 275 kilograms, but this is probably due to the abundance of food and lack of stress or predators. The majority of their diet consists of vegetation such as fruits, roots, leaves, bark, etc., but they will occasionally take insects such as termites. And now for his weapons. A silverback has a jaw strength of around 1,100 psi, that's pound per square inch. It's not only their jaws that are strong, obviously they have very strong limbs. They're quite capable of snapping small trees by themselves in order to reach food. These animals not only have brawn, but they also have brain. A female gorilla in the Nuwabele, Ndoki National Park in the Republic of the Congo, was observed using a stick to gauge the depth of the water. This use of tools is quite impressive, and would help them get the edge in a fight if they used weapons. Though, as of right now, I'm unable to find any scientific papers indicating that wild silverbacks use such items in a confrontation. Speaking of confrontation, gorillas like to avoid it as much as possible. Contrary to popular belief, gorillas are very peaceful animals, choosing rather to intimidate and use posturing than to actually engage in a real fight. I definitely see this as a true strength, as they are quite intimidating animals, even to leopards, which we will get into in a minute. Intimidation goes a long way in the natural world, and most animals will avoid a fight when possible. If you can win a confrontation without getting physical, your chances of surviving long enough to pass your genes on significantly increases. Gorillas have very few natural threats. Their only true predators being leopards and possibly crocodiles, though crocodiles haven't been thoroughly observed. Leopards, on the other hand, are actually very accomplished gorilla killers. In the majority of cases, they will go after females and young, but there have been multiple occasions in which leopards have actually managed to kill a silverback gorilla. In fact, this history of predation runs so deep in their DNA that the mere scent or sound of a leopard can cause entire families to flee in the opposite direction. In 2011, G.B. Schaller wrote his article, Making a Last Stand Counterattack and Chutzpah Living Primates, that after a brutal fight to the death, the bodies of a leopard and a silverback were found, killed from mutually inflicted injuries. Going even further back to July 1949 Pittsburgh, a black leopard 1/4 the size of his opponent managed to tear the arm off and mortally wound a silverback in a circus, surviving the ordeal but losing an eye in the process. After all is said and done, gorillas are by no means pushovers. Most of the time gorillas will successfully fight off leopards. In fact, their mere presence in a group deters leopard attack, as when the alpha male of the group dies, predation risk to the rest of the family significantly increases. Because of this, they'll seek a new silverback male as soon as possible. Now onto the lion, Panthera Leo Leo. They tend to weigh anywhere between 160 to 225 kilograms, but do average 190 kilos. They're hypercarnivorous, taking a wide array of animals from wildebeest to giraffe. Typically, they avoid prey that's under 190 kilos. Anything under that weight would likely be calorie inefficient to catch, especially when supporting an entire pride of about 15 to 30 members. Lions have a jaw strength of around 650 to 690 psi. Already, this is much lower than the gorillas. A lion's bite is used to either puncture vital blood vessels or to suffocate prey. There's not really a whole lot of need for more power behind those teeth, as their sharp canines puncture flesh very easily, and that's all they really need to do. As well as having sharp teeth, they have incredibly sharp, 5-inch long claws that help them grapple prey. And like all cats, they're very stealthy, utilizing their padded paws and camouflage to get within striking distance of their chosen target. They need to get in as close as they can because they don't have very good running stamina and will overheat quickly in the African sun. Lions are extremely hardy animals that can survive being trampled and partially gored by their massive prey. The mane of a male lion actually plays a vital role in protecting them from other lions, as it prevents other cats from getting a killing bite on their necks. On top of all of this, they have a tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer of cells at the back of the eye that allows them to see in low light, something primates like gorillas and humans both lack. Unlike gorillas, however, lions have a fight-or-die lifestyle. They constantly have to compete with other predators, whether it be fighting hyenas off of their kill or going to war with a rival pride. These cats, and many of the other animals they share their ecosystems with, truly live a life of brutality. Being at the top of the food chain, lions have nothing that can be considered a true predator. They have been taken by large crocodiles when venturing into waterways. The moral of this video: stay away from crocodiles whenever possible. Now that we have all the important details down, I will set a hypothetical scenario. But first, here's a disclaimer. Most encounters between the two solo individuals would likely end in the lion backing off. Silverbacks, even when scared, will face new threats to their families head-on. But predators like lions have evolved to be wary of new things. This is called neophobia, and has served them well over millennia, as new animals and stimuli can pose an unseen threat. And I'm sure it's not escaped anybody's knowledge that lions do not tend to hunt alone. Most instances where these two species interact, the lions would likely utilize them as a prey source. This is just an unavoidable fact that working in numbers definitely skews the odds. With all that being said, let's get to the scenario. Picture the scene. It's a future where humanity has taken the initiative, creating wildlife corridors and allowing lions and gorillas to spread into long-forgotten ranges. A hungry solitary male lion stalks the jungle, having recently left his pride. Perhaps he was ousted by rivals, or left a bachelor group to go it alone. Either way, he finds himself deep in the jungle of the Congo. Meanwhile, a noble silverback gorilla watches over his family as they browse in the foliage, eyes trained on the edges of the clearing, keeping a wary eye out for leopards, who become bolder as the day grows long. There's a shift in the wind. It carries the scent of the gorillas to the curious nose of the lion, who had already begun following the sound caused by the group's feeding. This scent is new and strange, but hunger drives him onward until movement catches his attention through the trees. He crouches low, and slowly creeps towards it. By a mixture of luck and poor camouflage, a female gorilla already building her nest for the evening spots the yellow feline as it approaches her kin. With this, she screams, alerting the rest of her family, including the silverback. Now alert, he rushes forward to the edge of the clearing, putting himself between the group and the threat. Enticed by the sound of fleeing prey, the lion bursts through the trees and into the clearing, only to be met with the angry silverback who begins a threatening display. This partially works as the lion is startled. Caught off guard by this loud new animal, he stops in his tracks. The two behemoths maintain their distance, both unsure of what to make of each other. The primate continues baring his teeth and attempting to make himself look as big and fierce as possible. He wants to avoid a fight, especially with this strange giant leopard. The lion, however, begins sizing him up, testing the water with swipes and lunges. He wants the gorilla to run, but for now he holds his own, pounding the ground in a display of impressive force. The cat is used to bold prey. Usually it wouldn't be worth the effort, but his desperation urges him to stay and wait for his moment. In a last-ditch effort to scare his aggressor away, the ape mock charges, causing the lion to retreat back slightly in surprise. Seeing this, the gorilla is emboldened and continues his chase and begins swiping at it as it runs. Unfortunately for the gorilla, this was the wrong move. Enraged and threatened by the blows, the lion turns around and grabs the gorilla in its claws, digging in deep and attempting to get to its throat. For the time being, the simian is able to suppress the attack and retaliate. Pulling the lion in close, the gorilla attempts a bite of its own on the lion's neck, only to be met with a thick protective mane. For a while they frantically tussle, each exchanging blows. But before long, the deep gashes made by the lion's 5-inch-long claws have caused his foe to weaken. In one swift motion, the cat manages to get up to the gorilla's weakest point and sink its teeth into the neck of the ape, puncturing its carotid artery. As the strength leaves his mighty body, the silverback stops struggling. His group long since retreated, he has fulfilled his purpose and sacrificed himself to save his family. This is just one of many ways this scenario could have played out. Attacking during the night would see the lion have an even bigger advantage, as gorillas have no night vision and are most at risk when sleeping. Since silverbacks are too heavy to sleep in the branches of the trees, they would be even more likely to be targeted by the ground-prowling cats. Gorillas are not fighters. They are naturally peaceful creatures and do everything they can to avoid a conflict before getting physical. It is one of their extremely admirable traits in my personal opinion. But in this scenario, intimidation alone was not enough to deter combat. Lions, on the other hand, are literally designed to kill, and to be damn well good at it. Although it's true females do the majority of the hunting, the males are often called upon to subdue animals many times larger than a male gorilla. Animals such as buffalo and wildebeest are even taken by solitary males. I hope this finally settles the debate once and for all, giving everyone a satisfying, science-backed, albeit basic, answer. If you wish to fact-check me or do some research of your own, my sources are linked in the description below. I do hope you'll consider subscribing, as I hope to do more fun videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and remember, in a world this big, there's always something more to see.